Hi guys, it's Jody. Today's video we're gonna go on a little adventure. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I finally want to start doing it this year. So, you know my channel, I specialize in the blooms technique and using those ingredients to, do swipes, transfer swipes, and I want to take that even beyond because I feel like those ingredients can work with a lot of different things, but not everybody can get certain products, and it's always been in the back of my mind to test other alternative products for both pouring medium as well as cell activator, and it's not all going to happen in one video. I'm giving myself a year. But let me just kind of go over the basics of the blooms technique as a whole. So you have your pillow paint, which is the white paint you always see me putting down. And that should be a white interior wall paint, a low sheen, because you don't want it to be a high sheen, because then it kind of goes against what you're doing with your pouring medium, because your pouring medium is more on the higher sheen. If it gets too glossy, then it can just work against you. So you want a lower sheen pillow. That's pretty easy. Your pouring medium, you usually want an untinted base paint. And when I say that, I'm going to show you an example. The Valspar Ultra Base C, which is the lowest base in this brand's line. And this comes in a semi-gloss. It also comes in a high gloss. But whatever that paint brand has, the highest gloss and then the lowest is what you want for part of your pouring medium. And then the other component to your pouring medium has always been a water-based clear gloss polyurethane. So for example, this Verathane, you can use an art polyurethane as well. This you can get at the hardware store. And you've seen this on my channel. I include everything I use in every video, not only in snapshots, but also in the description box below. And I mean, I get tons of questions about it, and that's okay. I encourage you to ask questions, but I just want to help as best I can, because there's some that can't get or don't have access to an untinted base or a varnish. I mean, that's basically what you need. If you can't get the brands I use, you need an untinted base paint and then the water-based varnish. Okay, that's the pouring medium. We're going to come back to that because we're going to work on that in this video today. But then the cell activator, you have Australian Floetrol, which is easier to import now into the United States. But also we have US Floetrol, and they both work. I've used both of them here on my channel, so we're really not going to talk about that too much today. It's the pouring medium I want to focus on today, because traditionally, like I just said, with the blooms technique, you want your untinted base paint and your varnish. And that together creates your pouring medium, similar to more traditional ones, Golden, Liquitex, Artist Loft. They all have their own version of a pouring medium, but what the house paint ones do, it's a little bit thicker, I find, and I actually really like using it as a pouring medium. I've used a lot of the other ones in traditional flip cups, straight pours, that kind of thing, and they work well for those, but they were just too thin for me. However, having said all of that, I want to start, it's not going to be a consecutive series, but it's going to be a series where I test alternative pouring mediums that can be used with the blooms technique. I kind of did this a little bit with when I tested the Artist Loft Ready Pour paints and then the Arteza Ready Pour paints. That was kind of, something that was a little bit different that you would use for a pouring medium. So today's video, I know that was a bit long-winded, but I kind of wanted to preface all of this. And if you're still with me, today's video, I want to know what happens. I know a lot of you out there who do, more traditional fluid art, flip cups, straight pours, all manner of fluid art outside of the blooms technique. A lot of you use Floetrol. This Floetrol here that we can get for $14 a gallon at Menards, at Lowe's, at Home Depot, all that good stuff. We're going to use that as a pouring medium today. I want to see what happens. That is my goal today, to see, what does it look like? Do the my guess? Well, I've tested it out a little bit on tiles, and I just did that, so I don't know how it dries. I don't know what it looks like after, an hour. I don't know, and maybe some of you have already done this already, but this is new for me, and I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. So we're going to test. I've mixed up my favorite testing colors, and I'll show you those in a minute. I mixed them with Floetrol only. That's it. And I've got 2 cell activators mixed up, and I'll show you those as well. I've got the Australian, and I've got a US Floetrol. And so we're going to see what happens. We're going to see how it reacts, how, you know, it spins out, and then how it dries. I'll come back at the end and show you how it dries and give you my thoughts on it. So that's what we're going to do today. So having said all of that, let's go get started with these tests. All right, like I just said in the intro, I mixed up 3 of my favorite colors I like to test with US Floetrol only. First color is the PBO Studio Acrylics, the iridescent blue-green. And I'm going to guesstimate at the ratio from Floetrol to paint because it's all different. I was really just looking at the color and how thick it was to see how thick I could get it. And this is about as thick as I was able to get it, which isn't bad actually. You know, you don't want it extremely runny, but this was about 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. So there's that one. My next color is the Matisse Flow, the dioxazine purple. And you can use any dioxazine purple. This one I just had right in front of me, but this actually is probably a hair thinner than the blue I just showed you. I put in too much Floetrol, and then I was trying to compensate by just squirting in a lot of paint. And this Flow is a softer body paint, so it's just a touch thinner, but not by much. So that's the purple. And then finally, I wanted to see what would happen if I used a fluid. This is the Atelier, the Free Flow. This is the red gold I love. And I think it was about a 1-to-1 ratio with the Floetrol and that paint. And it's in line with the other 2. So that is the consistency of those 3. And I've got 2 cell activators mixed up. I've got my normal Australian Floetrol cell activator, the Mars Black Atelier Interactive Mars Black, mixed with Australian Floetrol at 4-to-1. This is the one that I typically have been using lately. And it's interesting because the color paints we're going to be using that's mixed up with the Floetrol as our pouring medium is probably about as thick as my cell activator. So I'm super curious to see what happens. And finally, I also mixed up, I didn't want to make this video too long, so I mixed up my US Floetrol cell activator recipe, the one with the Minwax, the glue, and all that good stuff in there. This is not the higher ratio one. If you want to try that on your own, I say go for it. I just wanted to go with what I knew worked pretty well and it wasn't finicky. So this is, and it's probably about the same thickness as the Australian Floetrol cell activator, if you can see that. So those are the 2 cell activators we're going to test today. So now let's go get started. All right, our test subjects for today, I've got 8x8 canvases because we're just gonna do blooms today. I may throw in a swipe at the end. Sorry, the pillow I have here is my PPG Multi Pro. We're gonna be using that today, so we're just gonna leave it right here. I'm gonna spread it out just a little bit. I've got the red gold first. Get that on there. And then I'm going to put some of the blue-green on. Now, I typically like my paints thicker, but this seems to spread nicely. And then we've got probably way too much purple, but we're going to roll with it. The first cell activator we're going to test out is the Australian Floetrol. There we go. let that come in. All right, that is a really nice reaction. That was the Australian cell activator too. There's a lot of white in here, the pillows coming up. And you can kind of see how it's interacting with the Floetrol that's mixed in there. It kind of gives it that little bit of a cloud effect on the cells, but I'm not mad about that. We're going to see this through and see what happens. Let's see here. It wouldn't be me if I didn't make modifications. So I think I'm gonna make a little swirl pattern over most of that. I'm gonna leave some of these just to see what happens as we spin it out, how it spins out. That's part of the test as well. Let's see, I think I want to leave the rest alone just to spin it out and see what happens. I really want to play, but this is testing. We're testing here. So I am going to meet you over the spinner box and we will spin this out and see what happens. All right, here's that, what that looks like before we spin it out. We are just gonna get that centered. Make sure everything's all good, and we're just gonna spin. Get this to open up. Might end up being a floating bloom. But those cells look like they're staying. Wow, this is pretty cool. I'm impressed. When I did a couple tests off camera, but just with little 4-inch tiles. I wanted to do it on something bigger. All right, need more paint to come off. I'm not liking the center too much with the pillow, but that's how it blew out. Probably from my straw, but we're just testing right now. Woo-wee. This is looking cool otherwise though. These cells are so super cool. I mean, if you can see some of those in there. I just need to get a little bit more paint off, but I don't really want to. Some of the cells on the inside are, and I'm not going to point because I've got white, but some of the cells on the inside are disintegrating a little bit, like the cell activator is pulling down, but these ones on the outside are super cool. So far, this could definitely be an option if you want to try the blooms technique without, or you can't get an untinted base, or you just want to try it out using US Floetrol. All right, I think we're just about there. I kind of like how that's looking with the jagged edges. Not too much more movement. I'm really digging those cells too. All right, one more. Still got some right in the middle there. That just wants to not cooperate. Yeah, see how those white cells kind of in the middle there? They're taking on kind of a ghostly form, which is actually kind of cool if you want that in your piece. It's actually looking pretty cool. I'm still getting some of these in the center there are kind of breaking apart or sinking, but I'm going to put this over on the side and we're going to go test out the US Floetrol now. All right. Same canvas again, an 8x8, just a standard canvas. Same pillow, the PPG Multi Pro. And we're going to go again to use the to test the US Floetrol cell activator recipe, and I'll have links to all this to the US Floetrol Cell Activator recipe in the description box below. That this was the red orange. Sorry, my my mind wandered for a second. That was the red gold. This is the blue green, the iridescent blue green, and I'm just gonna put. I'm not gonna put as much purple on, or maybe I will, because that orange came in like in the center. I kind of wanna. Yeah, I think that's a good amount. That's a good amount. Right, now this one is the US Floetrol Cell Activator with the Minwax and the glue and the ink. And I just mixed this like 40 minutes ago. So it is absolutely freshy fresh. Put some on like that. All right. Wow. Holy cow. Wow, that reacted really nicely. Trying to be careful how I blow so I don't get a lot of that white in the middle. All right. Kind of messed up in here, but that reacted really nicely. Let that come in. That was a super reaction. As I was blowing it out, I've never never really seen it just blow out as I'm blowing it out. I do want to whoops. Got a little bit of white in there. Actually, that's kind of cool. Opens it up a little bit. Help that along just a little bit, but all right. I think that looks pretty good. I don't know if I want to pull anything else out. That kind of looks cool there. I was pulling that out. How it's reacting. How the Floetrol is reacting with the pillow. Or at least that's what I think. I'm getting some of those white. Let's get rid of that. All right. I'm happy with that. That looks pretty dang cool. All right, I'm going to meet you over at the spinner box, and we're going to see what comes of this. All right. There's kind of what we have before we... That looks really cool, actually. And this, again, this is the US Floetrol Cell Activator. The one with the... whoa, going the wrong way. The one with the Minwax, and all the other ingredients. All right. I'm just going to spin and see what happens. Woohoo! This is so cool. Some really cool cells in there. Now I want to swipe with it. I want to see what happens. Yeah, it kind of gives that using this pillow, it kind of gives that cloudy effect when it reacts with the Floetrol in the colors as the pouring medium. So super cool. Just want to get enough paint off, but I'm digging the reaction. I hope this dries cool. just a little bit more paint. Yeah, see, the more I spin over in the right hand corner up there, some more pillow is coming up, and you can see it kind of looks like a cloud effect there. But I'm gonna let this be. I'm done spinning. I'm really digging what's happening. I'm gonna put this over with the other one, and I'm gonna get cleaned up, and I'm gonna bring you over for the flyover of both of them. Thought you were coming in for a flyover. I made an executive decision we're going to do one swipe, and we all know what's going to happen with the Australian Floetrol. You can use that with mud and it'll make cells. I mean, I'm convinced of it. So we're going to do a palette knife swipe and kind of do something fun just to see how it reacts with the US Floetrol cell activator. So I'm going to actually use this little guy here, and I'm going to load everything up and I will show you. All right. Got the black US Floetrol cell activator. I've got the purple. And then I've got the blue green and then the orange. And let's just go right here. Whoa, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but those cells, just like that. Instant reaction, that was so cool. Quite possibly the coolest. Getting a lot of those cloud cells, but we're going to go with it. Same everything. Let's go right here. That is so cool. I went a little bit lighter on my swipe, so I wasn't getting as many pillow cells over here as I did over here. I kind of skimmed it. Takes a little bit of practice, and I still need to practice it sometimes. Now, I've always been one, I love the white pillow cells. I have incorporated them into my pieces before. I love the look of them, especially with this this color palette. I think that's good for the swipes. We know how it works. It works amazing. I'm going to play a little, and then we're going to spin it out. This is so super reactive. I mean, it's Floetrol, which we usually use as a cell activator, but I just didn't, using it as a pouring medium, I didn't realize how reactive this would be. I mean, you need to experiment some. I mean, all these white cells that are coming up, maybe not something you want, but it's fun to experiment with. Definitely so super cool. I mean, some of these cells here are just the coolest. Let's just bring those out. I think I'm done playing. A lot of this is going to get, I mean, there's a lot of pillow on here, but we saw the reaction. Let's spin this out and make a piece out of it, and then we'll see, and then we'll go from there. So I'll meet you over the spinner box. All right. There's that third guy up close. So cool. I mean, look at this. Look at that cell reaction. I'm dying over here. This is so super cool. I'm just going to spin. We'll guide it. See what happens. Whoa. Go that way. Ugh, this is so cool. As I ruin it, trying to pick it up. That's right. Still gonna go off on the side anyways. That's an oops on my part. Got to get that over. You know what? Let's just hook it. I don't want to lose all that cool color. I think I would rather, sorry if it's out of view, I would rather lose some down over here. Whoop. Take some off, and then I'm going to put it back on the spinner. There we go. There we go. That's kind of cool. All right. I had way too much paint on there, but I was having fun swiping. Just that reaction, so cool. All right, let's take it down. Yeah, I'm gonna lose a lot of this. Too much paint, Jody, too much paint, but I really just wanted to see what would happen. So cool. All right. I hate losing all that. But it actually still looks pretty cool. But we got to see how it reacted in the swipe, and you know, I usually swipe on bigger, it's tough to swipe on a smaller piece. I'm done with this. I know there's still paint moving, it may crack, it may not, but I just really wanted to see what would happen if we did a swipe, how it would react, and it reacted so super cool. This is actually kind of neat, this little piece right here. I'm going to put this over with the others, and now finally I'm going to give you the flyover of all of this once I get cleaned up, so I'll be right back. I'm going to give you the flyover of everything. These two tiles here, these are actually what I had tested before, and they reacted pretty much the same way. This was the Australian Floetrol, and then this was the US Floetrol, right? I can't tell. I can't tell. Don't quote me on that. At any rate, this is what we all did together. So this was the bloom we did with the Australian Floetrol. Let me bring you in, and I've got my flash on. I mean, there's some really cool cells in here. Some of this orange, you see how it's kind of disintegrated a little. And then we got our cloud cells from the pillow. But, I mean, there's some really, really neat cells in here. And these, I don't even know what's going on over here, but they look just super cool. It almost looks like something's smoldering behind it. And I messed up. I was moving them and got some white paint on it, but it's a test piece. So that was the first one. And then here was the one where we used the US Floetrol cell activator. I mean, just equally as cool. I mean, the cell activator was a little bit thicker, so it almost looks like the cells are holding a bit better in the center. But just some super cool cells overall. And this white that I accidentally put in there turned out actually really cool. But you got some of those little pillow dots coming up, which aren't as cool, but you know, tweaking things and practicing, or, you know, if this is the route you want to take using US Floetrol as your pouring medium, you totally can. I mean, just the way the paint moves together, it's so cool. Definitely different than your traditional blooms, but super cool. And then here's the pour swipe I tried to do, where I had to take most of the paint off, but it's actually a kind of cool design, actually. So we'll let it live and see what happens. Getting some of, and this is actually where I don't mind the pillow cells so much. When I have more color, and then it's kind of like the black and white and the color, it looks pretty dang cool. So there's all of those. I'm going to let these dry, and then I'm going to come back and show you all the dried results and my final thoughts on everything. So I'll be back. And I'm back to show you all the test pieces that we did, how they dried, and I'm pretty excited about this, not gonna lie. I'm gonna show you the first one, and if any of you have just used Floetrol before as a pouring medium, you know it dries kind of matte, and they all dried matte, but you know, if you finish your pieces with resin or varnish, it's a non-issue, so take that, you know, as I'm showing you all of these pieces. So this first one was where we used the Australian Floetrol as the cell activator. We had the US Floetrol as the pouring medium. And here it is. Here's how it dried it as a whole. It didn't change any. It didn't move around any. And you can see from that that nice little shimmer in there from the blue-green. It's definitely gonna have a nice sparkle to it when you put a finish on it. But let me bring you in and kind of show you how it dried. I mean, all the cells look really awesome. I mean, it's just super matte, but you know, I got a little bit of cracks, but I really wasn't worried about how much paint came off. I wanted to get enough off, but those cracks actually don't even bother me. You can fill them in. But it dried really nicely. I mean, this is a really cool piece. I kind of dig these in here. Like, I could actually use an acrylic marker on it. So again, that was the one with the Australian Floetrol cell activator. Now this next one was the US Floetrol cell activator, my original, the OG recipe that I used to use, not the higher ratio, but the one with the Minwax, the glue, the ink, all that good stuff. So here it is. Again, it dried exactly how you saw it wet. It, you know, it didn't move around. These white spots didn't grow or get any bigger, and all these cells pretty much stayed just the same. And I mean, it does have a matteness to it again, but I mean, that's to be expected with using Floetrol as your pouring medium. But yeah, I mean, some of these cells are just so super cool. And I'm not mad about this. Again, you know, some of this can easily be jazzed up with a little bit of acrylic marker. And then finally, the swipe, my poor swipe. I know better not to try to swipe on a small canvas like that, because you lose half of your composition trying to get enough paint off. So I am going to try a swipe again. I still have, you know, my paints mixed up. I want to get rid of the rest of it. I want to do it on a bigger canvas. So I'll probably do another piece, just doing some kind of a fun swipe. But here is the swipe that we did. And I mean, it dried really nice. How you saw it wet, again, it dried, didn't move around. It didn't, you know, the cells didn't get bigger, didn't, you know, do anything weird. It just kind of stayed in place. And I mean, this is actually a little bit more, since the pillow was satin, you're kind of seeing that a little bit more than these colors. Which were mixed with the Floetrol, so it's a little bit more matte. But, and then I'll show you these tiles. I kind of glossed over them. These were my little test tiles before we got started testing. But I mean, they dried just the same. Really cool sparkles. Like, if these were resin, they'd be totally cool. And again, with these little white spots in there from the pillow, you can jazz it up with acrylic markers. And then here's the other one. Honestly, I didn't write it down on the back, so I don't know which is which. But I mean, for me, with this test, the US Floetrol cell activator, you know, with the original recipe, or the Australian Floetrol, they both work. Use either one. Use what you got. So I am super excited about this experiment, because I feel like this opens doors. It may not be new for some of you, but it's new for me. So it's really exciting to see that you can totally successfully do the blooms technique, or, you know, just use it as swiping, any kind of different swipe you want to do, or figure something else out on your own as well. But, you know, these ingredients, I mean, just using US Floetrol, that's it. And then your paint, and then adding a few additives for your cell activator. That's a pretty cheap way to do the blooms. So if you're looking for an economical way to try it out, or if you know, are in an area where you can get US Floetrol, but you aren't able to get any untinted bases and varnish to, you know, make up the pouring medium, or you just want to try something different, I totally recommend this. This was a super fantastic experiment. I had so much fun with this, and I'm definitely gonna, you know, give it a go again on a bigger piece. Maybe the next video or the one after, I'll use up the rest of what I have. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say: if you find that your paints, you know, using the US Floetrol are a little bit on the thinner side, I mean, add some more paint then to thicken it up, or even like a gel gloss, I think, you know, just to thicken it up. Or if you want to try an experiment with, you know, mixing the US Floetrol with maybe another pouring medium as well, and then using one of the cell activators. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, or if you've tried this yourself, you know, how it worked for you, all that good stuff. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.